Welcome on the podcast, Trish and Cathie.
Tricia and Cathie join me now.
Trish and Cathie.
Lifelong friends who won Series 3 of hit travel reality TV show Race Across the World. Obviously, when you won the race, you also won £20,000. So how's that? What are you planning to spend it on?
I have now spent my share. And
did you ever really expect to win?
Never.
No.
So how did you feel when you opened the book on the last leg and you saw you won?
Even now, I can't believe it's happened.
What was the lowest moment in the series?
You have these incredible highs, and then a few seconds later you can have these devastating lows, and you can literally go from complete elation to total despair within about a minute.
Welcome on the podcast, Trish and Cathie. How are you doing today?
Woo! Yeah, we're good.
Oh, good, thank you
for having us.
It's a pleasure to have you. Okay, so let's go right back to the start. So when and where did you meet?
Oh, that was... I was going to say that was when dinosaurs were around, wasn't it?
Yeah, the world was in black and white then. Yeah, we were 13. And that was a long time ago, and I'd moved schools, so I started at Penglis Comprehensive School and met Trish the first day, and by the end of the first week, we were firm friends, getting up to all sorts of mischief.
So like, why do you think you've stayed friends for so long?
I think that's because Cathie and I are mad as a box of chocolate frogs, and we just get each other. But not just that, we trust each other, we tell each other everything, and it's very much, we've got a really good relationship because we trust each other implicitly. And yeah, it's just, she's chalk, I'm cheese, and we get on.
Yeah.
We do, and yeah, I think what's important to add to that is we are very different people. We're our own people, and we allow each other to be who we are. We don't try and change each other. And I think that's really important in a friendship. Friendships that you make as teenagers, they're really important in your older life as well, because you share that period of time where you lived your whole life as a teen. That period of life is a really crucial point. And I think that's what's kept us going, is when we meet up again, we kind of revert back to those teenage years, not quite, but that
in mind.
We've got that link that goes back a long way. But friendships like that need to be nurtured, they need to be looked after. And I think it's important that you accept each other for who you are and not try to change each other.
Yeah, and we've got respect for each other.
Absolutely.
I respect it when Cathie's wrong, that she's wrong, and she respects when I'm right, Love you.
Yeah,
love you too.
So like, how did that relationship change throughout the adult years going into adulthood from being friends as teens?
We lost touch for quite a long time, actually. When we left school, we went to different colleges, and of course we didn't have mobile phones, we didn't have internet, there genuinely wasn't any of that technology around.
So snail mail,
literally writing letters to each other. But because we'd moved area, we didn't have each other's address, and we lost touch for about 15 years.
Oh, wow.
And then I found Trish on it was a platform, Friends Reunited, and that was a precursor to Facebook. That came out first, and then Facebook came out a couple of years later. And luckily, Trish had said that she was getting married to her husband and gave her husband's name. So when Facebook did come out, I was able to look for her under her married name. Because that's girls, we change our names, you see. So it can be difficult to find each other once you've got married.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I think because we'd had that time apart, when we first got together again, we were quite nervous. But that
I was very nervous.
I was nervous as well. I
Mm.
didn't know if I'd recognize you. I didn't know if you would be the
But
same person. But as soon as we saw each other, we just kind of ran and grabbed each other and held on to each other. It must have been for a good sort of 6 or 7 minutes. We just didn't move and just laughed, and and
it
that
was
was
like
really
that slow motion run that they do down the beach type thing. But
Yeah,
it wasn't
the
slow motion
movies.
and it wasn't the beach.
So like the first time you met after them 15 years, did it feel like no time has passed and you picked off where you left off?
It felt like I'd seen her last week. We were just, we giggled, we cried, we laughed, we chatted. I think we spent about 3 hours with each other. But it felt as if we'd been together for like 3, 4 minutes. But we hadn't been apart. And yeah, I mean, it was definitely like we were still 15, 16.
oh, completely, totally, yeah.
Yeah.
And there was lots to catch up on. Those first couple of
Mhm.
meetings were loads to catch up on.
Yeah.
We used to meet in a hotel that was halfway between where we both lived.
Mm.
And that became our place that we would meet.
Yeah.
We tried to get together about, I think it was sort of every 8 to 10 weeks. I think at the time we tried
Yeah.
to get together. So yeah, it was great, really good fun.
And did that carry on throughout the years to come, then 8 to 10 weeks trying to get together consistently?
Yeah, in
Mm.
fact, it increased. The frequency increased.
Yeah.
So yeah, we make quite a big effort now to get together every sort of 6 weeks or so. Otherwise, both of us need our batteries recharging.
Yeah.
Our husbands
Our friendship
describe it
batteries.
as, yeah, that they say, well, we've got to get these two together again. They need to recharge their batteries. So yeah, yeah, we get our little fix of our friendship, and then we're okay for a few weeks then, but not for long.
No, it's been too long already.
It has been too long already.
Mm.
Yeah. And that was what was so amazing about doing the Canada trip with Trish, because we got to spend every day together for
Yeah.
8 weeks. And that was amazing. And a lot of the time it was like being teenagers again when we used to live in
Yeah.
houses, It was good, really good, really special
It,
time.
it wasn't even 8 weeks days. It was 8 weeks of days and nights. I think the first night we spent in bunk beds, and we were so tired because we'd spent 5.5 hours in Stanley Park, and we were frustrated, and we literally just went to bed. But the second night we were in the Buffalo Ranch, and we stayed in a trailer or a cabin type thing, and we had a double bed together, but we had our sleeping bags, and we both curled up in our sleeping bags, and we put our hoods over our sleeping bags and giggled for about 20 minutes, didn't we?
About nothing. It was really silly, but great, really special.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? I think we did that most nights though, didn't we, if we
I
weren't
think we
exhausted?
did. Yeah.
Yeah, so you touched on that Canada trip, which so you were in the hit BBC series Race Across the World. So if anyone doesn't know what that is that are watching, explain to them what the show is about in your words.
Right,
Well,
Trish, it's all
first of
your fault
all,
that we did it, so you have to explain it.
yeah, I was going to say, first of all, if you haven't watched it, why haven't you watched it? Because
Yeah,
it's
where have
amazing.
you been?
Where have you been? Yeah, exactly. For the last 3 series, there have
Yeah,
been three. I know obviously this one is the best, but there
Obviously.
have been two previous. So yeah, we applied quite a while ago. And what the concept is you are given a tiny amount of money, and you've got to go from A to B, without using flights. And when I say A to B, so when we were in Canada, it was from Vancouver to St. John's, which is 16,000 kilometers without flying.
Wow.
And that $8,000 worked out to be about £50 a day. And that money should do you for food, accommodation, and travel. So
Oof.
you have to use your brain and your brawn to get across, and you have no technology, so you've got no mobile phones, no GPS, no no technology at all. The only way you can do it is by asking people, and
And
getting jobs and stuff on the way.
an old-fashioned paper map.
Yeah, a paper one.
Oh,
And
yeah.
the map was actually as big as Cathie is tall.
Yes, it was. Yeah,
Yeah.
Wow. Massive map.
it was a big. No, it's not.
No, she's very small.
Um,
Sorry.
so you mentioned how, Trish, you got you both into this. So when and why did you decide to apply to the show?
Well, I'd seen series 1 and 2. Absolutely loved it. And back in 2019, series 2 was aired. And I saw it and it said, if you'd like to apply, just follow this, go to this website. So I did. And it said you need to do a 1-minute video of say why you want to be on this show. So I did. And then I phoned Cathie and went, Cathie, do you fancy going travelling for a little while? I don't know where. It's a TV show, and we do mad things. Why not? And she was like, yeah, go on then. 'Cause she trusts me like that.
Yeah.
I don't know whether she will again. And I said, all you got to do is a 1-minute video and blah blah blah, and that's kind of how it came about. I'd seen, like I said, I'd seen the series, but Cathie hadn't. So when it came to, we'd gone through some interviews and bits and pieces, and it started getting a little bit serious. They started saying you might need to take time off work. Cathie then went, I think I might actually have to watch this and see what this is about. So that's kind of how it came about.
It was,
Yeah.
it was great. Yeah. I hadn't watched, I had no idea what I was letting myself in for. But
But you were like,
yeah.
I'm fully up for it.
Oh yeah, totally. And also a thing like that, when you apply for something on the television, you never think for 1 second that you're ever going to get picked.
Yeah.
So I think I was a little bit blasé about it because, well, it doesn't matter because
Yeah.
there's no way we're not going to get picked, So I didn't really worry about it too much. But as time went on, they obviously saw something they liked, and decided that we would be suitable people to do this, which I'm so glad they did. But
Yeah.
it was a bit surreal. We didn't really believe it for a while, did we? We were like, oh my God, they actually they want us to do this.
I don't think I actually believed it until we were on the start line. You know that.
Wow,
When even when we were in Vancouver, I was thinking they're going to change their mind any second.
They've just
Well,
got a backup pair that they've got.
Yes.
Switch you out.
Yeah.
So how long was that application process from that original 1-minute video to knowing that you've got the show and then to actually going over to Canada and filming it?
Well, it was a bit exaggerated for us because when we applied in the end of 2019, that was for a show that was scheduled to be filmed in 2020. But of course, then COVID hit. So we didn't actually hear anything until November 2021. So it was 2 years, but that was purely because of COVID.
But we didn't get told that we were going to be on the show until the March.
Yeah.
And then we went out in the May. So we didn't have a huge amount of time to kind of get our heads around we're actually going to do this. And we weren't told where we were going until the morning that we flew. So
Really?
we were so we were taken to a hotel on the Friday and Saturday, still not told where we were. The Sunday morning, we had to check our bags for contraband and take our phones and stuff away from us and just check that we've got passports and stuff. And then they went, by the way, you're going to Vancouver. Now you need to get in the car and we're going to the airport. So we were like, okay. So we couldn't tell family where we were going
That's
or
intense.
anybody because we didn't have phones at that point. So yeah, nobody knew where we were going. And we didn't know until I think it was about 3 hours before the flight.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow. I
Yeah.
suppose that's to stop you like fully researching the routes that you can take and things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
also,
Yeah.
and from the BBC's and the studio's point of view, they want to maintain that air of mystery. So they don't
Mm.
want information getting out. They don't want people to know what goes on behind the scenes and how they reach something, because it kind of spoils it. There's no
Mm.
surprises then. So they didn't want any information getting out, because then when people see it for the first time on TV, that's the first time everybody's seeing that information. So yeah, that's why they keep things secret. So, and we weren't allowed to know where we were going, and our families weren't allowed to know where we were going. Otherwise, things would be inevitably, people would talk and they'd say, "Oh, do you know they're going to Canada and all that?" And then it takes away that element of surprise. Then, so I can
I think
understand why they did it.
I think also because Cathie won't mind me saying this, she's actually a very organizer person. She likes to organize anything down to the meticulous timings of everything.
You can just
So
call it, Trish. You can just say control freak. It's fine.
okay, Cathie is a control freak. So if we were told a couple of days beforehand that we were going, she would have planned everything to a T. Whereas if I was in another group, I'd be like, yeah, okay, we'll just see what happens. So it made it kind of equal for everybody then, because
Yeah.
some people might research, some people wouldn't, because they took everything away from you. I mean, I think one team had a little bit of coffee. I had some chocolate in my bag, and they removed everything, so everybody was on an even keel to start with. So you can kind of see why they keep things really tight-lipped as well with it.
Yeah. So you said about like from applying, so I suppose you kind of forgot about it over COVID because you hadn't heard back and
Yeah,
you
so
kind of just it was a lost cause.
yeah, well, we didn't hear anything at first. Well, when we did this 1 minute interview, it just went off. And for a couple of weeks, you're thinking, oh, that'd be fun if we did it. Oh, that'd be amazing, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then that's it. COVID happened and nothing. Myself and Cathie didn't see each other for nearly 18 months.
Mm.
Obviously, we Zoomed and spoke and stuff, but we actually hadn't caught up with each other. And I went up to stay with her for the weekend. We were sitting having a cup of coffee and my phone rang and it came up private number. And I went, I don't answer private numbers. And I thought, oh, I will. So I did. And they said, oh, it's so and so from Race Across the World. I was like, what? And they said, it's so and so from Race Across the World. I went, who? And it took me a couple of minutes to click who it was. And I was like, oh my God. And I ran into Cathie going, Cathie, Cathie, Cathie. So I think at that point we knew it was meant to be.
Yeah, yeah. The fact that we
It was
just happened to be
fate.
together, yeah.
Yeah.
Because we live
Yeah.
we live about 250 miles apart. So Trish lives
Oh
Mm.
wow.
in Devon and I live in South Wales. So it's not like we get together, a few times a week. It's just not possible. So the fact that they called us on the first weekend that Trish had come up here since COVID, it was a bit like, oh, okay, that's a bit spooky. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And I think the second round, I think we got what that we'd done. We were together again that we got the
yeah,
call.
yeah.
And we hadn't been together for ages before that as well, had we? Because
Well, we
we
went through
were
a series of lockdowns, and then they let everybody out, and then you had to go back to lockdown, and
yeah,
so yeah,
yeah. And
yeah,
it was just everything just kind of became coincidence that we were
yeah.
together when it happened. So yeah, it was fate.
It
So like
was.
what was that feeling when you finally found out that you had like after the final stage of the process and you were actually going to be on the show?
Mine was guilt mixed with total elation and excitement. I think that was those were my initial feelings. Um, the guilt because my husband and I run a business, and me disappearing for 2 months puts a lot of pressure on him. Even though he was 100% supportive and really excited for me, obviously it's tough for the one half of a partnership to leave the other person to it. But I couldn't help being excited and feeling a little bit kind of, oh my God, this is really happening. Oh my God, this is so exciting. But it was, yeah, it it was really exciting, but also a little bit like, oh God, is Gareth going to be okay?
He's a grown man. He was fine.
I know.
I was really excited. I couldn't sleep for about a month. I was like, whoa!
Oh, wow.
It was as if I was on like so much coffee.
It's about
But
normal then.
yeah, okay. But it was. But then the nerves hitting because I suffer from anxiety, so I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be away. This is going to happen. That's going to happen. Oh my God! And so yeah, I got really nervous, but I was so excited. I wanted to go as soon as they said we were on it. I wanted to go there and then. I did do what I call the seagull dance, which is, once it's rained, the seagull do all the little legs on the floor and go to get the worms up. I did that dance for about 2 days. So yeah, again, couldn't tell anybody what we were doing, and I was just like, because she's the only person that we could really talk to about
Yeah.
it, each other. Obviously, hubby knew, and Cathie's hubby knew, but that's all. We couldn't tell anybody else what was going on, so it
Oh,
was really
wow.
hard
Yeah.
to kind of contain that excitement, and not go, "Oh my God, you guess what's happening?" Blah blah blah. We really had to contain everything.
So, like, what was the cover? Just, oh, we're gonna go traveling for 2 months or whatever.
Well, this
Yeah,
this might give you some indication of our different personalities. So my cover story was that I was going on a challenge a traveling challenge, and had to work my way around the US because it was 2 months. I thought it's got to be long. It's got to be a big enough place that it's sort of feasible that it would take you 2 months to go around there. So I told
Okay.
people that I was doing a travel challenge with Trish because they're used to me doing these crazy stuff, fundraising things with Trish, you see. So that was believable. I had to give them something believable. Trish, on the other hand,
I told everybody that I was meeting Cathie in London and we were just going traveling somewhere. Didn't know where, didn't know what we were doing. We were just going to go and see what happened. I didn't lie to people. I did meet Cathie in London and I didn't know where we were going. And I did see what just happened. So, I didn't
Well,
lie.
yeah.
Yeah, but again, they're used to me doing that. They go, "Oh, where are you going this weekend?" "Oh, I don't know. I'm just going to rock up Snowdon this weekend." "Are you?" "Yeah, yeah, yeah." "Oh, what are you doing next weekend?" "Oh, I'm going abseiling." And they're like, "Okay." So they don't, they're used to me doing random stuff and not giving them too much information. Until I come back and go, "Oh my God, I did this, that, and the other." So when we got back, everybody's like, "Can I see the photos?" I was like, "Nah." They were like, "Where did you go?" "Just around."
I could
And they
never
were
have
like,
got away with that. People wouldn't believe me. So
well, they all thought that something was up, but they didn't want to push it because I was so blasé about it. And they were like, "But where did you go?" "Well, just around." So yeah,
Oh, yeah. And so you say, was the point that you actually realized you're doing this when you're on the start line in Vancouver?
I
for
think
me, yes, it was.
that's when it really hits you.
Yeah.
Because flying out there, that's all a bit of a novelty, and that's fine. And if you've flown on holiday before, it was very similar to going on holiday as normal. But yes, when you get to Canada, and then things start really ramping up in preparation for it, and then you
Mm.
get to that start line, then you're sort of your heart starts beating, the butterflies are in your tummy, you've got that horrible feeling like you think you're going to be sick, but you really don't want to be sick. It's this whole kind of mishmash of emotions,
Mm.
and then you just want to get going. That was my feeling anyway. I was like, right, okay,
Mm.
come on, stop all this messing about now, I just want to get on with it. So yeah.
I think we did a couple of walk up and down the kind of the causeway or the near the boat stings, and we walked up and down that a few times, had a few videos, but we didn't actually see the other guys until we were on the start line, when everybody saw us
Oh,
go to the start line. So that's the first time we met anybody. So the first people we met was Laddie and Monique, and you're kind of going, ooh, and you're sizing them up and going, ooh, are they competition? Are they not? Blah, blah, blah. But you want to be really friendly with them, but you don't. And at that point, it's like, this is just mad. And as soon as they kind of go, right, and go, you're like, oh, I'm actually doing this. Oh, right, head in the game. Come on, let's start. And yeah, it's a bit of a weird feeling, but a good one. But we definitely did the we're not running off that start line.
No, no, it made us giggle actually, didn't it? That
Yeah.
everybody ran except us, and we were like,
Yes.
no, we are walking with purpose.
Purpose.
Good decision there, probably.
Yeah, I think it was actually. Except
Yeah,
that
because I
we
couldn't.
clearly went off in the wrong direction, because then they all got out of Stanley Park and we didn't.
Yeah, but hang on, we won.
Yeah, we did.
But also, can you imagine having to run around Stanley Park for 5.5 hours? That would not have happened.
No,
Yeah,
definitely.
I think that was one of the funniest part of the series, just seeing you completely lost in Stanley Park for
Yeah.
literally like the first whole day,
Yeah,
and then
Not
going
good.
to win the whole entire show.
I know. It's
We
mad.
we
Well,
were just keeping people in suspense. That's all it
yeah,
was. We were just
Yeah,
pretending that we
you
didn't
just
know what
wanted
we
to
were doing.
make yourself the underdogs.
absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah,
And as Brits, we all like an underdog, don't we? Yeah.
yeah.
We just wanted to lull them into a false sense of security, you see.
That's what it was.
Yeah,
But all
perfect.
the way along, we knew we were going to win.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, especially when we saw the cafe for the third time, and I
Yeah.
said to Kathy, "That's it. If it's going to be this hard, I don't want to carry on." And she was like, "Right, pick your water bottle off, and we're not having any of that nonsense. Come on." I was like, "Okay." Behind her. But yeah,
So on that first leg, was it what you expected, or was it completely different to what you had imagined?
I
That's
think it
quite
was.
difficult, because I didn't really know what to expect. So I didn't really have any preconceived ideas as to what it was going to be like. Because the trouble with, when you watch it on the television, when we've watched ourselves back on the television, you only see tiny moments of what actually happened.
Yeah,
So
because
even
obviously
with
there's six
watching,
people to fit in what
yeah,
are they, an hour, are they?
Yeah.
yes, it's five teams in an hour plus all the introduction bit. So when I watched the previous series, I understood the premise of it, but you don't know any of the detail. So I really didn't know what to expect. And the finished product, it literally is a tiny bit of what we actually go through. So yeah, I didn't know what to expect, and everything. It was just like this whole big magical mystery tour, really, and flying by the seat of your pants.
Yeah, it very much was. We were making that up as we went along for the first week. We didn't, there were things that we kind of went, oh, okay, we'll do that, and we're going, oh no, we can't do that anymore because that won't work. So we need to. Oh God, we soon came to the conclusion that we were going to make a plan. We were then going to change the plan, and then ignore those two and do something completely different
Yeah,
because whatever we planned went by and by. So yeah, like Kathy was saying, over the 8 weeks that you saw us, or the 8 hours that you saw us, there was only literally about an hour of each person. And out of 8 weeks of filming, literally 24/7, you've got an hour there. So yeah, there was a huge amount more that is on the cutting room floor somewhere, unfortunately. Um, it's in
but
the
it's
book.
going to be in my book.
Are we going to be doing a book by
I'm
any
doing
chance?
a book.
Oh,
Ah, are we writing a book? The epic adventures of Kathy and Tricia, or Tricia and Kathy? Are we?
Yeah,
Are
think
we
so.
really?
Think so.
oh,
Trish and I kept a diary. We each kept a diary every
Mm,
day.
oh
So
wow.
we're going to use that to form a book, because you really do only see a few minutes per
mm,
team.
Yeah.
Obviously, we can't talk about the other teams because that wouldn't be fair. They were all absolutely lovely, really, really lovely people.
And we still get
Um,
on with them and still talk to
yeah,
them.
yeah, absolutely. So, but it would just be from our own diaries and our experiences, all the bits that you didn't get to see on TV.
Yeah,
Oh,
like Kathy smacking me on the arse with a dead frozen
Wet
fish.
fish.
Thank you very much.
okay. Like you talk about the editing. Were you surprised at anything that wasn't included in the edit and you thought would be really entertaining?
Loads of
Huge
stuff.
amounts, huge amounts. I mean, there was one that went round the whole of the crew, the cast, the whole shebangy in week one. We had an amazing day, didn't we, with Tricia? And you know, she showed us some amazing sights, and we got to see the seals, we got to see the eagles. In fact, you saw the eagles. But we went out on these hydro bikes, and I hate being on water, so they put me on this hydro bike, and the
Oh wow.
faces that I was pulling was horrendous. I didn't know I was. But paddling backwards on the sea on this hydro bike, I was like, oh Jesus, oh Jesus, oh Jesus. And they recorded it and they passed it round everybody, so everybody got to see it. Thank you very much. So,
Sadly, we don't have that, I'm afraid. So we can't share
no,
it with anybody. But
I would love to have, honestly. Uh-huh.
yeah, you would. Yeah,
Love
you would.
that to have gone viral, honestly.
But I have got you on the paddleboard.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh no. Oh no. That's not a good one. So yeah, I'm not good on water. But there's also things like we were running back from the checkpoint through Quebec, going back to the train station. And it was really funny because I found it hilarious and we find it funny now. But we were running through and we were really short on time. And Kathy decided just to stop and read some poems on a chair. And I was like, Kathy, bus? And she was like, oh yeah. But it was a shock in her face as if to say, oh, that's what we're meant to be doing.
Yeah, I know.
Having a little read, having a bit of a moosey round.
We still got the last bus tickets though, didn't we?
We did.
So at the end of each leg, obviously, you all stayed in a hotel together and
Yeah.
usually did an activity in the local area together. So what was the atmosphere like? Because at the end of the day, you're all competing against each other for £20,000.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, it was horrendous. We didn't speak to each other. We didn't look
Stop
at each.
it.
I'm only joking. I'm joking. It was really lovely, actually. As soon as we saw another team, it was big hugs and we sat down and had meals together and drinks together and just kind of chatted about how they were feeling and you know what had they been up to and unfortunately we didn't get to see the boys that we got to see them once, didn't we? In Hyde
Yeah, Michael and Mark.
Michael and Mark. We didn't get to see them that much because obviously episode 3 they got eliminated. But yeah, it's like kind of meeting up with your best friends or your cousins or something because you kind of go away for a week and then come back and meet up and it's really exciting actually, hearing their stories and seeing who they met and what they did and trying to find out how much money they had left.
Yeah, that was always the thing.
Yeah, or you know how much they'd had free or anything like that. You were just trying to gauge where they were. So you were always in competitive mode, but
Yeah,
there was always that, you know, they're friends.
yeah. So I've watched all the series of Race Across the World, and I've always wondered, it's always been in the back of my mind, how is it filmed?
We are filmed a lot more than you actually see. Yeah. You're
The only thing
definitely not filmed in the loo. You're not
No.
filmed in the loo.
The only thing
That's good.
I'm sure
Yeah.
they wouldn't mind us saying is that we felt and they made sure that we were safe at all times.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And you became a little team, a little family, you know, but
yeah,
they made sure that you were totally looked after, whether you're out on the run or whether you're in the checkpoints. You were always looked after. I know that I had a few issues with my husband being poorly when I was out there, and they were saying, you know, don't worry if he goes down the hill or whatever, we will get you home. We will make sure that you're up to date with everything. So you knew that you were being looked after, and
Yeah.
people at home were being looked after as well. Because it does worry you when you're not at home.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That things could go wrong and or whatever. I mean, Cathie's got 2 sons and her husband that's got the businesses, so you do worry that, oh my God, how are they coping? What's happening? So they do make sure that your mind's at rest at all times. So yeah,
So
they are very good.
so I
It-
suppose having that incredible like team around you makes it slightly easier.
no,
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 they're not
no.
allowed to. They're not allowed to do anything for us.
Yeah,
But like with your mind, with your mental health, I
yeah,
suppose
yeah,
Oh yes,
it
yeah,
has you a little bit at ease.
yeah.
yes. I mean,
You knew that you weren't going to be put in danger, put it that way. And if there
Yeah,
was a dangerous situation, that they had your back. But they weren't allowed to give you a right or wrong or a polo or a glass of
yeah,
water.
yeah, yeah.
Absolutely nothing. But yeah, you knew that, you know, if somebody was going to rob you, that they would be there, or if there was something mentally problematic, that you'd have help. So yeah, absolutely. You were mentally and physically looked after.
Yeah, so something you don't see that in the show that much hit the editing floor is what you eat. So what do you eat? What was your average meal most of the time?
cream
Not
cheese and
much.
crackers,
Cream cheese and
cream cheese
crackers.
and crackers.
Oh,
Oh, and
Yeah,
breakfast cereal bars.
oh, oh,
yeah. Occasionally, we did have
Yeah,
hot food one night, didn't we? We had a sweet potato with tuna.
oh,
That
half
was
oh.
each.
half each. Yeah, that was when we stayed in a motel with a microwave, so we were very
Yes,
lucky. But
yes.
yeah, because all of our food has to come out of our budget,
Yeah,
we we were quite careful. So rather than eating, say, getting a burger or something, because obviously there's a lot of fast food restaurants around there, and it is relatively cheap. For us, that wasn't really the best thing because we could save a lot of money by going to a grocery store and buying some basic groceries. Then they would
Mm.
keep us going for sort of 2 or 3 days. Whereas if
yeah.
you just buy a burger, that's instant and then it's gone, and then you've got to buy something else. So we tried to be a little bit savvy with the food. And then when we got to the checkpoints, we just ate as much as we physically could.
Yeah.
Yeah, you rolled
That
us
was
out of checkpoints. But that's the only place that we could kind of cut back financially, because the buses were a certain amount, the
Yeah.
accommodation was a
You
certain
can't help
amount.
that, can you?
No, I mean, we kept asking for discounts. I mean, we got OAP discount, we got student discounts. They don't do disability discount, which is a bit strange. But yeah, we got OAP one and we got student one. But you know, you can't kind of get a free bus as such. So the place that we could cut back was with the food. And we did quite quickly realise that breads and sandwiches, you have bread for one day and then it starts going a bit crusty, and it's like, nah. At least for crackers, they kept for a few days. So yeah, and you didn't have to put them in the fridge. So yeah, we soon learnt that one, didn't we?
Yeah, yeah.
So obviously you do also jobs to keep the budget going or get like a free night stay. So what was the favorite job you did in the show?
Go on, Kathy.
I think, oh gosh, that's quite tricky. I really enjoyed knocking down the outhouse
I
when we were in
knew
this
she was
place.
going to say that.
We were in this place, literally middle of nowhere. It was the second week, so it was quite early on, and there was still a lot of snow on the ground. And they gave me a hammer, and I got to knock things down, and it was brilliant because I never get to do that kind of thing because I work in a windowless office.
Oh,
And yeah, it was just brilliant working outside, and you could see you had a sense of achievement because you started it and then you finished it, and that's quite novel to me because I don't ever finish what I do. It just rolls over into the next thing. So that was fabulous. I really enjoyed doing that. I quite enjoyed the splitting the wood in the bison ranch as well. I guess those physical type jobs that I don't normally do, I really enjoyed doing that. What about you, Trish?
For me, weirdly, it's different. I thoroughly enjoyed knocking down that outhouse because, again, because of my sight, I'm like, yeah, I've got a hammer. Until I was told, careful, Cathie's still inside that. But my favourite one was actually, weirdly, going to a rodeo. And the first day we were doing like making burgers and things like that. And I've done that before. But my favourite bit was actually watching Cathie bring in the horses, because all the anxiety and all the stress and everything, literally, like Harry Potter and the things that take out all of the soul sucking
The
thing.
Oh,
Dementors.
yeah.
Yeah, those horses took all the anxiety out of Cathie, and you could see her just relax. And it was so lovely, so beautiful. I mean, I hated the horses. I hated doing anything with horses. But seeing Cathie doing that was the best. It was the best
Wow.
job ever. And I thought Cathie was going to either say knock down the outhouses or the horses, but I thought it might be the outhouses.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's really interesting. I didn't know that.
Mm.
So what
Mind
was...
you, we've never been asked that question, have we?
No.
Oh,
No.
perfect. An
There you
original
go.
question. What was your least favourite job from the series?
Cleaning the locker rooms in the ice hockey rink.
Yeah.
Fair, probably.
Yeah. There were things on those walls and in those urinals that shouldn't be in there.
Yeah.
You saw my face.
Yeah.
You didn't smell it. And it was awful. I mean, the smell wasn't that bad until you had to put your hand in and clean. Blech.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, let's leave it there.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. It was. But after we'd done that, we went ice skating. So, you take the bad and the good,
highs
as
and
you
lows,
do.
really.
Exactly. But yeah, that the lockers weren't pleasant, to be fair. No.
The grand scale of things, it wasn't that bad, was it? Actually, I
No.
think we were
Could be
very,
worse.
yeah. I think we were quite lucky with the jobs that we did.
Yeah.
The one when we were in Montreal and we worked in the poutine restaurant, that was
Brilliant
the
fun.
only place that we managed to get like a full day's work, and we absolutely worked our socks off, didn't we? But it was brilliant because we earned a significant amount of money that day.
Yeah.
And we were exhausted by the end of it, but we were well fed.
Yeah.
Weren't we? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't think we had a bad job as jobs go, apart from when it all went wrong in Ottawa.
Yeah, that wasn't the job's fault, to be
No,
fair.
that wasn't
That
the job's
was the
fault.
woman's fault. But yeah, it wasn't the job's fault. But then we made a good thing out of it. We had a nice little tour of Ottawa. We got to stand on the I was going to say President of Canada. No, the
Prime Minister.
Prime Minister of Canada's door, and then we got to hand out leaflets to people in the rain. So the job itself was okay. It was just the incident. But the bit that I really didn't like is, again, on leg one, when Tricia's when we did that job with Tricia, and we were cleaning out her mum's house, and we were cleaning out the backyard, and there was. Yeah, we smelt of dog poo for about 2-3 days afterwards, and that was even after washing.
Well, you did. I avoided it. I was like, I'm not going around.
You went into the house. No. I stayed outside. Whoa. But yeah,
No.
it was. But then it was a real sense of achievement because we really, really helped her mum out. She was a bit of a hoarder, but it really, really helped mum out.
Yeah.
And, we did a great job. And it was really satisfying to have done it. But yeah, dog poo up to your knees wasn't fun.
Yeah.
I say Cathie off.
No.
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 if you're enjoying the interview so far, please do subscribe, because we have got some more great interviews with interesting people coming your way every 2 weeks on Sunday at 1 o'clock. Let's get back to the interview. So, what was the lowest moment in the series?
There was quite a few. What happens is when you're in that situation and everything is exaggerated. So
Yeah.
all of your emotions, all of your feelings, everything is exaggerated. So you have these incredible highs, and then a few seconds later, you can have these devastating lows, and you can literally
Yeah.
go from complete elation to total despair within about a minute. And that happened to us a few times. But one of the worst times, I think, was in the middle of the series, and we'd been offered a lift, and it was getting towards late in the day, and we were getting to the point of thinking, crumbs, we're going to have to find some accommodation for tonight. And then suddenly we get told, oh no, this guy's going to give you a lift. But when he came, we'd offered to help pay with the cost of fuel, because that when we first went out to Canada, all of the fuel prices had gone up right across the world. So fuel had suddenly become really, really expensive. So we'd offered to help with the cost of fuel. And in our mind, we're thinking like, $75 to $100. And he wanted $600.
Wow.
And we were like, well, I didn't have any words. I just sat down on the pavement because I didn't know how to react to that. And that was a real low moment. That was a real low moment, because there was no way. That was more than half our week's budget. And this guy was just trying it on, because I asked him, how much does it cost to fill your fuel tank? And he said, well, $200. I said, right, okay. And the journey was only going to be 2 hours, obviously 4 hours for him. Well, you don't get through a full tank of fuel in 4 hours, but he wanted 600. So it just, that literally floored me. And that was a real low moment for me.
Yeah. And it was a really low moment for me seeing you like that. It was devastating. However, it turned about half an hour later when his friend said, I'll give him the rest of the money, you pay your $120. So we're like, okay.
Yeah.
So again, it literally went from floor to ceiling. But yeah, that was one of the lowest moments. That really was.
I think that was one of the very few times where we really felt that this guy was out for money, that he was taking advantage of our situation. And that was very rare in Canada, because on the whole, Canadians are very, very friendly, very generous people. They'll do anything for you. And this guy was one of only two, possibly, who we felt were just taking the mickey, really. And that guy in particular, we felt he was just using us to his financial gain, and that wasn't a nice feeling.
And then we had a really awkward 2-hour drive.
I can imagine.
But
we weren't going to turn it down, though.
No, we weren't going to do that. But luckily it was only 2 hours. It wasn't 9 hours. So
yeah.
So what was the best moment from the series?
Apart from winning,
yeah. Obviously. Pretty good moment, that.
That was quite good, that bit.
That was all right, wasn't it? Something to do on a Saturday night. For me, the best part of the whole thing was to spend 8 weeks with Cathie. Without a shadow of a doubt, that was the highlight of the whole thing. Bar a couple of days. No, but yeah, no, it was definitely spending the eight weeks with her. It was just, it is absolute highlight, and to be the start line, being there was just such an honor, and there were so many pinch me moments of, oh my God, this is amazing, this is so special. But yeah, for me, those were the two bits: is actually being accepted on the TV, on the show, but spending that 8 weeks with my little buddy.
I'd agree with that. I think having that time together was really, really special. you know, and I don't know that we'd ever going to get that again. So it was hugely valuable. There was a moment I took in Jade City, which is the place where we did the cabin, where we knocked down the outhouse. And I just took a moment out. I left Trish bashing things and she was happy. So I went
Bashing and burning.
Yeah. I popped down to the lake and it was still frozen, which surprised me because it was by this stage, you know, it was sort of second or third week in May and the lake was still frozen. The mountains were still covered in snow. There wasn't a cloud in the sky and it was absolutely silent. And we had just come out of COVID. I work in frontline healthcare, so that period of time had been horrendous. And I just took a moment out and stood by the lake, and it was silent, and it was just perfect. And now, when I'm struggling, you know, I suffer with anxiety, and I've got mental health problems. And when I'm really down, or when I'm really struggling, that's where I go in my head. I just stand by the side of that lake. I visualize that scene, and it just brings me back down and calms and allows me to just breathe again. So that was a particularly special moment, just so indescribably beautiful.
I think there was that bit in Churchill as well when we went out and watched the sunset over the ocean. We were stood actually on the sea, in the middle of the Arctic Ocean, and we watched the sunset at about 2 o'clock in the morning. And yeah, I paddled in the Arctic Ocean, didn't I? Took my shoes and socks off and found a little squidgy bit of water and just paddled in the ocean. It's mad.
Would you say that's your like best? That's your best place in Canada that you went?
Churchill was definitely my favourite place. Yeah.
Churchill was bizarre, like nothing. You just don't experience that kind of place, do you? It was really quite magical.
Yeah, I mean Dawson City was like a living museum. That was very,
Oh, is that the
very
one that
odd.
it was the like weird like wooden places?
Yeah.
It
You
looked
you
almost like
expected
movie setty.
yeah
It,
yeah you
it was
expected
really
John
weird.
Wayne to come out with his shotguns and go, "Are you in my place?" Like, you know, you expected something
Do
like
that
that.
again,
But
Trish? Do that again?
yeah, no, I won't. Try not to do that ever again. I will never do that again. Okay, ever.
Okay. Yeah. I believe you. Thousands wouldn't.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it was a very odd place, and it had 23 and a half hours of sunlight a day when
Oh,
we were up
wow.
there, so it didn't actually go dark at all. I mean, even the half an hour wasn't dark, so your body clock was just completely knackered for when we were there, weren't they? And
It
it
was
was,
weird.
yeah, it was a very odd place, and it was a bank holiday, so everybody was drinking from, when I say sunset to sunset, I mean sunset to sunset. They didn't stop drinking. Yeah, it was a very odd place.
It did look odd on camera.
Yeah.
So do you think you'll go back to Canada and do traveling again in Canada?
Definitely, yes. I have to say that when we were told we were going to Vancouver, a little bit of me cried inside because that is what my husband and I have planned to do when we retire, to fly to Vancouver and work our way back east. So yeah, that was a bit tricky. But no, we will definitely go back. I hope we'll be able to go back together, like the four of us, and revisit some of the places that we went to. Not all of them.
No.
And, you know,
Let's not go to Ottawa.
well, that's tricky because Ottawa's the capital. But I think it's because we didn't have a particularly good experience in Ottawa. But yeah,
But it'd be
definitely.
nice. Yeah, it'd be nice to go back and see those places that we ran through really quickly.
Yeah.
We didn't get to see Montreal very much of Montreal, and I would have liked to have seen a bit more of that. So yeah, and Quebec, absolutely loved Quebec, but again, we didn't spend a lot of time there. So I'd love to go back there, and spend a bit of time. I'd love to go back to Churchill. But yeah, but not on a 36-hour train drive.
Yeah, I
Thank you
loved
very
the
much.
train. I loved it. It was
Only
brilliant.
bored.
I can imagine, without a phone as well.
Oh, I loved
Yeah,
it.
she was just sleeping at little legs up. She could sleep in a little ball
Doing
like
my
a cat.
code words.
Yeah,
I was.
yeah.
We were playing heads up with post-it notes.
Yes, we
Oh.
were. Yeah, and then I got really bored, and I walked up and down and up and down and up and down the train millions of times.
We saw
I
the
get itchy
Northern
feet.
Lights, though,
I've got to
didn't
keep
we?
walking.
We saw the Northern Lights.
Yes. Well, did you? Yeah, you
Yeah,
did second night, didn't you? Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
3 o'clock in the morning.
yeah. I loved the train. I thought it was great. I didn't have to plan anything. I could only go as fast as the train was going. We were all on the train, and I didn't have to think about where we were going next. I thought it was great. Loved it.
So you had a lot of ups and downs during the series with the positions you landed at the end of each leg. So what were you feeling after the third leg with 2 wins under your belt and the second place under your belt as well?
Smug.
Thank you.
Yeah,
No,
we did. Yeah, but that was a bit of a dangerous feeling because obviously there's no guarantee that you're going to stay in first, and we didn't.
no.
But I think that we were quite realistic about it, weren't we? That yes, okay, we'd done really well for the first 3 weeks, but then there's no guarantee that things aren't going to completely change. So we didn't take it for granted, did we?
No.
We were quite realistic about the fact that we could quite easily become last and then not do well. There was a sense of relief when we knew we hadn't been eliminated.
Yeah,
That was
definitely.
like you could kind of not relax, but it was like, okay, right, now we're in it until the end, unless something goes horribly wrong or one of us gets COVID. So yeah.
But I think also it was we were just out there to enjoy. So you know, even as long as we didn't get eliminated, we were there for the rest of the time. And we weren't. I didn't think we were that competitive until the elimination one, and when
Yeah.
the elimination came, we became really competitive, and then we stopped being competitive. But I think we came in last in one of the
Quebec,
tech
Quebec
points,
City.
Quebec, and it broke me. It
Yeah, it really did.
absolutely broke me, and I hated it. And I was like, we are not going to be last again. We are not going to be last, which obviously we weren't. But yeah, it does play with your mind when you do become kind of low down on the rating, doesn't it? It does kind of like, oh, I don't want to be there. I don't want to be there.
I was just happy that we'd caught up with Kevin and Claudia because they started with a 25-hour lead. So
Yeah.
Wow.
you were really upset that we'd come last, but actually the most important thing was that we'd caught up with Kevin and Claudia. So, I think with hindsight, you can see that coming where you come at any point, apart from the elimination round and the last leg, really,
Doesn't
it
really
doesn't really
matter.
make it. It's only
Yeah.
that last leg really that counts. There are some advantages to coming in first.
Like you get on the bus first and you
Yeah,
don't unless you go shopping and then get your bus tickets.
yeah. Tickets first and then go shopping.
Shopping.
But yeah, really, I can remember Laddie Monique saying that because they had never come first in a leg at all, but they were all right up there, towards the front. But I can remember, I think it was Monique saying that, well, it doesn't actually matter where you come
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
during the race. It's where you come on the last leg,
Gosh.
as long as
Yeah.
you survive the elimination. So
Yeah.
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 Which we did.
So how did you feel when you opened the book on the last leg and you saw you won?
Even now, it's I can't believe it's happened. Even
Yeah.
now, and this is a year and a bit later, it's like, how did we get there first? But opening that book, it was so nerve-wracking. I
can
mean, I've
imagine.
got menopausal sweaty hands as it is, but opening that book, it was even worse. I couldn't open the book, and I think I remember saying to Cathie, it doesn't actually matter where we come on this.
Yeah, yeah,
We've had an amazing time. We've won just being here and actually having this time together.
yeah.
And then we opened the book and it went, turn the next page to see if you've won. You're like, no, not another
It's like
page.
a teaser.
Like, "No." But yeah, I fell to my knees because my legs went from beneath me. I was like, I'm on my knees. And I think you turned around, didn't you, Cathie, and screamed.
I did. I just shouted to nobody, "We won!" There was a bit of sort of disbelief, and then
Mm,
you were like, "Oh my god, we won! Oh my god, this is
yeah,
amazing!" And then it was kind of like, "Oh, it's all over. It's
yeah,
finished," and that was really
mm,
sad.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't.
I remember opening the book and thinking, and in my head, I mean, it must have been milliseconds, but in my head, it seemed like hours. Oh my God, there's nobody written on that page. Why is nobody on that page? Where's everybody else's names? Shouldn't their names be on there? We can't have come first. How have we gone in front of everybody else? I'm sure should be first. Have we got the right page? So this has all gone in my head before I've gone, oh my God, we've won. So yeah, I've got all
Yeah.
of those, and just the feeling of excitement of like, oh my God, we've won. And like Cathie said, the sadness of, no, it's all over. And we've got to go back to our normal lives. Not that normal lives are horrible or anything, but the adventure's over,
Yeah,
and it's a
Yeah.
bit sad. So you are racing to finish something
yeah.
and
Did
finish a good thing. It's not, yeah,
But
did
it
you
was
ever
an
really
incredible time.
yeah,
yeah, did you ever really expect to win?
never.
No, but there was a moment when I thought we're in the lead here on that last leg,
Oh yeah.
when we got to the ferry terminal,
Mm.
and they made a huge fuss of us, of our crew, our
Mm.
camera crew. And at that point, I thought, nobody's come through here, because if they
When she
had,
says a fuss, they were like, "You can't film in here. You can't film in here." That type of fuss, not like, "Oh, we love you fuss." Sorry, carry on.
that hadn't even entered my head then. Yeah, they didn't want to be filmed, and they were saying you can't film in here, you're not allowed to, and I was like, no one's come through here yet. We're the first ones. So that at that moment, I thought, right, okay, we're in the lead here, and I think that was part of the reason why we decided to get on that ferry,
Mm.
because we thought, right, they're all behind us. We've got to keep moving. But
Yeah.
of course,
Yeah.
there was no guarantee that we were then going to get a lift the other side. So, but at that moment in time, I thought, right, we're in the lead.
Mm.
But obviously, there was a lot left to do the other side of the ferry ride.
Mm. I think I was with Cathie with that. I thought, oh my God, we've jumped Zainab and Mabeen. We are potentially in first place here. But then I thought, oh, hang on, these might be the night shift, and the day shift might have seen the others. Um, and
Yeah.
then when we got on the ferry, somebody said, "Oh, you're the other team." We were like, "Oh, there's somebody else on the ferry." So Cathie went walking around at 2 o'clock in the morning, walked every single millimeter of that ferry, looked underneath doors, in toilets, the whole place, to see if there was another team on board. There wasn't.
No.
Yeah. But then we had to stop overnight the other side on St. John's. And I think at that point I thought, we've come in second, because I thought we
Yeah.
were going to get hopped over.
Well, we just didn't know, did we?
No.
But
But you
yeah,
second guess yourself all the time.
yeah, you do. You
Yeah.
do.
Obviously, when you won the race, you also won £20,000. So how's that? What are you planning to spend it on? What have you spend it on already?
I have now spent my share, and took my family on holiday. So I just thought that we won it traveling, so I thought it should be spent traveling. But it
Yeah.
meant that I was able to take, obviously Gareth, my husband, but also my 2 sons and my older son's girlfriend. So yeah, we had a lovely holiday exploring the Caribbean.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That sounds
I
absolutely lovely.
it
I
was.
was going to spend mine on a holiday, for me and my hubby, but unfortunately my hubby's on dialysis because he lost his kidney while I was out in Canada. So he can't go away for more than 2 days in a run. So I bought him a very nice watch, so he can watch the time while I'm away. Um, and I spent it on going to places like China in
Oh,
October,
wow.
and things like that. I'm going traveling. I'm leaving him behind. See, like I said, he can watch me on his watch.
Yeah. So, so obviously, then a year after you finished filming, the TV show came out. So
Yeah.
did you watch it when it came out?
Yes.
Yeah.
How was that watching yourself on TV? Because some people don't like it. I've heard lots of like big actors saying they never watch their films because it's just so weird watching themselves.
Yes, but I was so excited about seeing what the others had got up to,
Yeah.
because we'd heard a little bit about, their journeys, but it was fascinating to see. For instance, Kevin and Claudia were saying from week 1 that they were skint, and we didn't believe them because we thought
No,
we thought they were just telling us that. And when we watched the first program, we were like, "Oh my God, they really
they
were."
were,
With
but
all of the
everybody.
taxis.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, everybody was really tight-lipped about the money, and even when we got back and we'd finished, nobody really said anything about the money situation. So actually, it was really weird watching that. They put the little countdown in the corner of, like,
Yeah,
gone
yeah,
down 10%, gone down 2%. So it was really weird watching that. Yeah, I enjoyed actually watching that. It was
yeah.
quite strange. But I was with the last episode I watched in Manchester on my own because we were doing the BBC Breakfast the next day, and that was very odd watching that. One, being on my own, but two, I was panicking. I was like, "Come on, Trisha, come on, come on!"
yeah.
Even though I knew the ending,
Even though, yeah,
Yeah,
I was
you're
encapsulated by it.
invested
Honestly,
in your own program.
yeah,
I
absolutely.
really, really was, and I kept shouting at the TV, "Put your bag
Put your
down!"
bags down, for God's
I,
sake, drop your
Oh,
oh my
bags.
yes. Yes,
Yeah,
I was doing that as well. We were like,
I
why
know.
have you not put your bags down yet? Me and my
I
We
know.
parents.
even we even talked about it the night before. The
Yeah,
night when
yeah,
we were staying at Dean and Terry Lynn's, and that night we were like, right, we're going to dump our bags before we get. And we even talked about it, and we still didn't do
yeah.
it. So
No.
yeah, ridiculous. Yeah,
Mind you, we
but
were always bad at checkpoints. So,
we were
if that was the worst bit of our checkpoint on the last one, there, that's fine.
But it was weird because we're not used to seeing ourselves on TV. It's not
No,
our world. So I found it a little bit like, oh, I don't like that. But it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be because my voice didn't sound weird. When you hear your own voice back, sometimes you think,
Yeah,
oh my
yeah,
God, do I really sound like that? I
yeah,
don't know why, but I didn't get that feeling so much. But I just tried not to be super critical of myself because I think
mm,
we're very good at criticizing ourselves and seeing ourselves harshly. So I tried not
yeah,
to do that. But
I
it
must
was
admit,
lovely to see where we've been and
yeah,
see it through the camera's eyes
mm,
at the place, because quite often we were sort of racing through places and didn't really get to stop and have a look. So it was nice to
mm,
see the landscape.
mm. I must admit, on each episode, I did kind of work out where I was crying because I think on every episode I did cry at least once. So I was like, I think I've cried in that one. Yes. Oh, am I going to cry in this
I
one?
had a
Oh,
little
yes, I have.
bingo card.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. How far along was it when Trisha cried? It's like, oh, yes, I'm cried. Oh, 2 minutes to the end. Yeah, she is. Yeah, I
Yeah,
did.
and because it must be like it must have felt really weird that you were being seen by over 4 million people per week, and even one of the episodes was the most watched program on BBC that week.
That's just mad, isn't it? Absolutely insane.
Yeah.
It just, yeah. It's a
But
bit of an
I mean,
odd feeling.
the whole program, not just our series, you know, series 1 and series 2, it's a real family feel good program. You know,
Yeah.
it's not you're not voted out on your personality. You're not judged on your personality or your looks or anything like that. It is
Yeah.
purely how you are, and how you do in the race, you know, and it encapsulates everybody. I mean, we've had kids that are 6 years old coming up going, "Oh, you're there from the race."
Well, not
Up
quite,
to,
not quite six, but you know,
yeah,
12, 13.
yeah, up to 90-year-olds who, in fact, I had a 94-year-old a couple of days say, "Oh my God, you are Trish from the Trish and Cathie show." I was like, "It's not the Trish and Cathie show," but yeah, she said the Trish and Cathie show, which was hilarious. But yeah, but we should have our own show. I'm sure we
We
should.
should, yeah, we should.
Yeah. But it's the whole range of people. You know, it's not like I don't know, like Love Island is kind of teenage younger groups. You know, you wouldn't see a 94-year-old watching it, or if they did, I'm unaware of it. But you know what I
Never
mean?
know.
You never know.
So obviously you said that you were in Manchester watching the final. Did you, Cathie, have like a party, a finale watching party or not?
No, Gareth
No.
and I were in Thailand. We'd planned a holiday there before we knew when the show was going to be aired. So sadly, we were in Thailand for the final. And otherwise, I think definitely Trish and I would have been together. And I suspect that Gareth would have come up to Manchester with us. So no, Gareth and I had a little party of our own, really, in Thailand. So I joined the BBC Breakfast broadcast by video link. So,
Okay,
and that
yeah.
was
She was
incredibly stressful.
she was on one of those famous people, you know, that you see in the background, and we're just going off to Thailand to find so and so, and here's your award, Mrs. Rowe.
Yeah, that it was a bit weird. I felt bad that I wasn't there. I felt really bad that
It
Trish
was a
had to do
bit
it on
odd.
her own. But,
That's all right.
yeah,
Kept it for the team.
you
Um,
did.
I was there. I was fine. I was in the room on my own with Mr. Vino and Mr. G&T. So yeah, I was fine.
Yeah. So you mentioned before about being recognized. Does that happen a lot?
Yes.
Not so much now. Not so
I
much
agree.
now. Not for me. Although I did get recognised in the hospital this morning. But it went through a phase where we did a lot, didn't we? We went back home to Aber for a school reunion 2 weekends ago, and there was a lot there.
Yeah.
And it's lovely, and everybody is so kind, and
Yeah.
it's very humbling, actually.
It is.
You know, it's a really lovely feeling. But no, for me, certainly, it's tailed off an awful lot now.
Mine hasn't. I'm still getting it quite a bit.
Well, you were a lot more
But
recognisable than I am.
yeah, I think yeah, and I'm also quite gobby. And to be fair, I'm out in the public a lot because I work for RNIB, so I'm actually out there saying, "Oh, it's Trish from this is blah blah blah." So actually,
Okay, yeah.
I'm more out in the public than Cathie is. So yeah.
And I'm guessing you got recognized a lot more when the show was on and while it was being aired than
Yeah.
now, which is a couple months later after the final.
Yes, yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
very true.
It
Yeah.
was quite quiet to begin with the first couple of weeks, and then after the elimination, it then started racking up.
Yeah.
And
I
then
suppose when people feel like
weeks it
they
went
have
mental.
more of a relationship with you kind of thing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's when people start rooting for their group. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
their favourite. Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
We do get a lot of, "Oh, it's Cathie and Trish, you were my favourites from the beginning." And we do get quite a bit of that. And we did have one or two ladies when we went to London, and they went, "Oh, it's Trish and Cathie, you weren't our favourites. We loved you." Remembering that in the postal place. You weren't our
Complete
favourites.
honesty.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
well,
that's fine.
why
You know,
not?
I've
You
got
know,
no problem with that at all.
no, at the end of the day, everybody likes different people. If we all
Yeah,
like the same people, it'd be a really sad world.
yeah, true.
Yeah. So how did your outlook on life change after the race?
Well, I went from quite a negative environment that I was in with work, um, just because a lot of people kept saying you can't do that because your eyesight, you can't do this because your eyesight, and it was a very can't do. Um, and I was really anxious. I had a real bad anxiety before I went out, and I wasn't confident about myself at all. But since getting back, I changed my job. I'm now working for RNIB, which is a can do. And they do can you do that? Oh, yeah, I can. "Oh, okay, carry on." But also I've got a lot more confidence in myself. So, and I don't suffer as badly with the anxiety. So yeah, definitely for the better for me.
When I came home, I decided that because the company had done without me for 8 weeks, they really didn't need me 5 days a week anymore. And that worked for a few months, but um, it's kind of reverted back now to me being there every day. But I think the main change for me has been the type of traveling that we do, that Gareth and I do. So our work is very, very stressful. So when we have a holiday, we tend to escape for 2 weeks, and we'll go somewhere and sort of hide away literally for a fortnight where, we're not going to be bothered by work. Um, but we go to a resort and we don't really see anything of the place. So now I'm far more interested in traveling around, getting to know somewhere, seeing more of it rather than just going to a hotel and staying on the beach. So when we went to Thailand, we spent a few days in Bangkok in the city. Then we spent a few days, amazing days in the rainforest, in the elephant camps. And then we went to the beach. So we're far more interested now in seeing a lot more of the world rather than just sort of escaping to a hotel and staying within the confines of the hotel. We're more interested in seeing more of the places that we visit now. So that's been the main change for me.
Yeah. So what is on your bucket list to travel to places together?
Well, we're actually doing one thing in October, aren't we, Trish?
We
We
certainly are.
we are traveling to China, and we are going to be
Wow.
tracking parts of the Great Wall of China.
Oh, wow.
One of the things that Trish particularly wanted to do before she loses her sight completely. So we're actually flying out on the 14th of October to do that. So that's
Oh,
one
wow.
thing off the bucket list, isn't it, Trish?
It certainly is. Yeah, I've got a bucket list of stuff I need to do before I lose my eyesight. So yeah, doing the Great Wall of China, drinking champagne on a yacht's on there.
Oh,
A
okay.
couple
I
of
like that.
Monaco?
strangers on there. Mm,
Monaco will do. Yeah, I'm happy to
Monaco?
yeah,
join in on that one. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I don't mind anywhere as long as I don't have to pay for it. I'm
Yeah.
absolutely happy. I'm meeting Benedict Cumberbatch, so if you get him on your podcast, let me know
Benedict,
because that'd be
okay.
quite nice to meet him.
Well, I'll try.
Yeah.
I'll
Thanks.
try. Just get in contact with his agent.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, like you mentioned about that bucket list that you've got. Like, do you have a timescale for that, or is it like you don't know when it could be lost?
I don't know. The doctors, the hospitals don't know. So I've got to get it done ASAP. So I've got to do it now. There's no point in waiting because you never know whether you're going to do it or not. So
Yeah.
yeah, and this is kind of what's taught me, since losing my sight. Do it now. It doesn't matter about tomorrow might not ever happen. Get it done today. So yeah, that's kind of like I did have 60 things on there. I've now got 18. So I've done a few of them.
You've done really
Okay.
well. I just find that work kind of gets in the way of life, but
Yeah.
it is a necessary evil.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah. But then if we didn't work, we wouldn't have the funds to do the bucket list stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. So obviously now they've just announced the cast for the celebrity version of Race Across the World.
Mhm.
I'm not jealous
So,
at all.
so what advice would you give to them celebrity contestants if they're watching this for some inspiration?
Don't win it, because we've got that crown. Thank you very much.
Just no one win.
Yeah, no one
Or,
win.
ju-
No.
or just
Um,
get to the finish line at the same time.
yeah,
Yeah.
all run out of money.
That
No.
would make
I
a
think my
great
advice,
series.
yeah. I think mine would just enjoy it. Just, just enjoy being out there, enjoy the moment, because you'll never get it back. And they're doing it with non-famous people, so they're doing it with, I think,
Yeah,
family
like
and
mum.
friends.
Family members,
It.
isn't it?
Yeah,
I
mum,
think.
dad, sister.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so enjoy having that time with them, because you'll never get
Yeah.
that time back.
And make the most of it.
Yeah,
Because yes, it's a race, and the ultimate goal is to get to the finish line, but you're
Mm.
going to see things that you wouldn't normally see,
Yeah,
and make the most of it.
yeah,
Take some time out and really
mm,
enjoy the experience.
yeah,
Do you feel like you did that enough?
yes,
Yeah, yeah, I think we really did
Really
make the most
experience
of
the
it, didn't
travel of
we?
it.
yeah, yeah. We've got everything we could out of it,
We
every
did.
moment, good or bad. We got every moment out of it.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't do anything differently apart from
No.
Stanley Park, but let's not talk about that.
Well, it was one of the most comedic part of the series, so
Exactly.
Yeah, everybody mentions it strangely.
I know. Yeah,
Like, oh, it's in Stanley Park.
maybe we should go back and beat Stanley Park.
you could
That's what
try
we
and
could
get out
do.
of it within an
Yeah,
hour. That could be a challenge.
that
God,
could be,
no.
couldn't it? Tricia
Yeah,
and Cathie beat Stanley Park.
perhaps we should do one going one way, the other going the other way, and see who gets out first.
The
No.
race to get out of Stanley Park, the incredible new the new that could be your TV show.
Yes, there you go.
Racing out of park.
Yeah.
Tricia Cathie park run.
Why not really?
This is how you do it differently.
Get Studio Lambert on that one straight away.
Get it on there. This is how not to do it.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
So, one final question. What advice? Because obviously you said you were that would work out of £50 a day. You were really on a budget. You ate crackers. So, what advice would you give anyone wanting to travel cheaply? Because when I get older, I want to travel around. But obviously, loads of people want to travel, but money is an issue. So,
Yeah.
what is your advice to travel cheaply now doing it for 2 months?
I would just keep being cheeky and asking for things like discounts on stuff. But you can plan so much stuff on the internet, and get things really cheaply on the internet. Obviously, we couldn't plan that when we were out in Canada, but yeah, take your time to plan it.
I think, yeah, definitely. And it's lovely to hear Trish say plan. I think
She didn't think she'd ever hear that come from me.
didn't. Now that's recorded now, right? I've got you on record.
It is, yep.
Saying you need to plan.
I'll send you the clip over.
There you go. Yeah, do your research first. There's
Yeah.
lots of means of traveling relatively
Mm.
cheaply. There's lots of discount code sites, and do your research, plan your trip, and then you can budget accordingly then.
Yeah.
Save your money for important stuff. You can eat cheaply if you plan it. Again, if you buy groceries to last you a couple of days rather than just eating fast food, your money will go a lot further. Take advantage of discount days. Just do a little bit of research into it, really. Plan your route, but be open to change. That's something that I've learned to do with Trish, is being more open to changing things. It's okay to change plans, but take your time planning it to an extent that you know roughly where you're going, but then allow things to change. You might meet up with a group of people and they might say to you, oh, well, we're going here, and then you're like, actually, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. So do your research first, take advantage of any discounts, buy groceries rather than fast food, and I think that your money will go a lot further.
And if you've got a budget, stick to it.
Yeah.
Don't go, oh, it's all right, I've got an extra £10 here. No, you haven't got an extra £10. That's a slush, £10.
But always keep an emergency fund back,
Yeah.
always.
Yeah.
So always keep it like £100 or something, just for an emergency.
Yeah. A taxi fund.
Yeah.
A Kevin fund.
It sounds like you kind of rubbed off on each other. Trish, you're saying to like plan more, you're saying to be a little bit more open after this experience. So thank you again for coming on the show, taking up so much of your time. I really, really do appreciate it. It's been an incredible interview. It's been really a fun one to do.
Oh, thank you, Rita.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for inviting us. It's been really lovely.
And for supporting us.
It's
That's
my
really
pleasure.
Lovely. Thank you.
And thanks for all your listeners for the support that they've given us as well. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And book coming soon?
Yeah.
I hope
well,
so.
as soon as she gets writing it.
Yeah, God.
I know. God.
Epic Adventures of Trish and Cathie.
Yeah, well, I don't
Stanley
want
Park, episode 1.
Stanley Park. Yeah. No, I will do it. As I say, work just kind of gets in the way of life at the minute. So I will get on it as soon as I can. Oh, thanks, Ethan. It's lovely to meet you.
Okay,
really
bye.
Lovely. Thanks.
Bye.
So hopefully you enjoyed my interview with Trish and Cathie. I do want to say a big thank you to Trish and Cathie for letting me interview them and giving up so much of their time. If you do want to check out more from them, the link to their socials are in the description down below. That's all we've got time for this week. We will be back on the 3rd of September with another great interview. Please share this video with your friends and family. Comment, like, check out some of our other interviews on the podcast. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, and subscribe. In the meantime, if you have any suggestions to make the show better, or if you want the chance to come on the show, comment below, message me on Facebook, Twitter or Instagram, or email me at thebrickkidshow@gmail.com. So that is all we have time for this week. We will be back on the 3rd of September at the same time, but for now, goodbye.
Bringing you a kid-friendly radio show. Every Saturday afternoon on YouTube. Broadcasting live at 1 o'clock. Broadcasting